how many bids. They wanna know what.
Oftentimes they'll ask, did you receive any bids, and how many were there?
But I bet, they must add to the condition of the car and things like that.
Oh, they inquire about
Yeah.
that too as well, sure, and, you know, that kind of thing.
By asking the number of bids, if you've got no bids, then they know they can give you a low bid.
That's what I'm
Correct.
saying.
15 bids, you know that there's a lot of people
Yeah,
interested,
you
they
better
better
sharpen
give you a
up,
high
you
bid.
better sharpen up your pencil.
In the outside world, you don't tell anybody.
That's
I'll
right.
take a couple questions and I'll start over here first.
I just wondered, my perception of the Attorney General's letter is asking you to review this real estate transaction against what he's suggesting and react to it. I don't get the impression that he's asking you to look whether you've advertised a bid twice in the last 7 days, or if you've avoided any perception of positioning someone more favorable. I got that he was asking you to look at what you did, compare it to what he's telling you, what is accepted practice, and then react accordingly if your actions were within or outside those parameters. And then last, I would say, again, my perception of a sealed bid is you say nothing to anybody. Once you tell somebody how many bids are there, or no bids are there, it's my impression you violated the sealed bid process.
Yes, I need to know names here.
Steve Twombly. Mr. Chairman, I believe I have some insight to it. I may be wrong. I don't know the Attorney General in mind. But the issue of individuals asking how many bids have been submitted, when you are giving that information to one individual, you're being exclusive of the rest of the potential bidders. They don't know this information. That's what the Attorney General finds unethical. If that one person is to know how many bids have been submitted, the whole public should know. So that information should be given in advertisement rather than to individuals in the subsequent publications of advertising. I believe that's the direction the argument should go.
I think that would be kind of hard to monitor, actually.
Don't do it. Don't do it, don't tell anybody.
Well, one thing he does address here, too, that in this case, the gentleman came in and knowing that noon was the deadline, just before noon, he came in and asked how many bids were submitted. When they told him none, he put one in. Now, let that stand for itself.
It's not the first time that's happened, though.
It doesn't make it right.
No,
That's, yes,
it's been past practice, and then maybe that does need to be cleaned up. He's telling us that he's.
Yeah, that was my interpretation. I do know what some of the residents have said, in particular how they interpret it. It's always refreshing to see how somebody else looks at this letter and thinks about what it's saying, so I appreciate that information as well.
Yes, behind Mr. Ford.
Me?
Okay, no, yeah, that can be you, ma'am.
Hi,
Yeah.
Leah Thomas. I think the only information you should give out about sealed bids is if the person has put one in. If I called you and said, did you get my sealed bid? You have a right to tell me. I don't think you have a right to say anything about the other bids. It's just my opinion.
Right in front of him. You, sir,
David or agree. I'd suggest that typically when you do this process, any bids, you have a bid box. The bid box is locked. Every sealed bid is dropped in the bid box. That bid box is never opened until the advertised time. Nobody ever knows how many bids are in there. 1, 10, or 0. Nobody knows. It's illegal to unlock the box until the advertised time. In public, at the advertised time, the bid box is unlocked, All the sealed bids are removed, read in public, and then there is an apparent award to the low or high bidder, depending on if you're buying or selling. And then you confirm the bids. That's a proper practice, that's what reputable places do. I have not seen the Attorney General's letter, I would like to see it, but from what I have heard, that it says, what was gleaned through the newspaper, was that, well, there were no criminal or no crimes that were detected based on the evidence that was presented. It was strongly recommended that the town look into this to further confirm that none of your existing ethics policies, none of your existing practices were violated in this process. I think that's the gist of it. I think there's still some work to do on the town's part to confirm that there was nothing unethical done. That's my perception.
Way in the back.
And since you weren't here, Jim, that was my earlier
Peg
comment.
Wheeler.
Peg Wheeler. Yeah. I don't think this is cause for partying and suggesting that you were right and we were wrong. I think the Attorney General's letter says that there appears to have been some sloppiness, and that if the defense is always sloppy, that's not a great defense. It may not allow them to prosecute a criminal activity. But I also would like to say, I have read the letter, and I think it's clear as a bell. I don't see where there's any confusion about whether or not it suggests that relative to this action, the board needs to review the underlined portions of your current ordinances and think again about whether you were in violation of them. And I believe, in fact, don't have it in front of me, but I do believe it states in there that if this time you do realize that, it should be corrected. So I don't think it has anything to do with, well, we already did a policy to
Just
correct that.
one moment though, there were no ordinances even involved with
Policy,
policies.
yeah.
Big difference.
Thank you for correcting that, the policy. But same thing, it's still,
No,
I think, Jim,
ordinances have to be approved by.
for residents of the
by
town, if you're
legislative
finding,
body,
if you're looking,
policies by the board.
if you're looking for a loophole in your own policies, then all of the time you spend at that table talking about them and wasting the time of the people sitting in this room so that you can find ways around them, you're absolutely right. And that's the greatest frustration for all of us who tried to correct this, and that's what we heard from the Attorney General, is that, you know what, they are in violation of their own ordinance, or policies, but guess what? Guess who's in charge of policing those?
Any board that sits here
You.
will struggle with policies, any board.
I've never
No
sat
matter
on
who
a
they
board
are.
that struggled with a policy. I've never sat on a board that wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I've sat through,
I know you have. I've sat in the room while you have.
Before I was here, I sat through.
I would believe that's true.
You were on the board, so.
On the bags are 12 years, and I don't remember.
I don't ever remember anything like that.
Maybe my memory's getting bad, but.
Yes, Mr. Flynn.
Do you always open bids on the last day that they're allowed in?
No, not, we've modified that.
You sometimes accept bids on automobiles to a certain date, and the selectmen may not meet for another week before you open them. So you'd be hard pressed.
Well, we've
to-
also, and this is something that, Selectman Creighton has discussed too with us, is that there have been times where the bid is opened prior to the selectmen's meeting, they're laid out, and we can provide a recommendation to the board prior to their acceptance. He's under the impression, and I think maybe some of his colleagues do too, is that those bids should just not be open. We should wait until the next business meeting, provide them here, open them all here, and then the staff can take them under advisement based on the information
Well,
presented.
you'd have to advertise 7 days before the final date of the bid, not the date of the opening, because that could be, you'd be advertising bids that closed a week ago.
But Tommy, we always open all bids at selectmen's meeting. And this doing it like we're doing now, it's since I got off the board in the early 2000. We always open them at the meetings. We never had staff open them.
Tom, I think one of the changes, and you haven't seen this yet, but something that I've tried to institute is the process of bidding. 3 bids, you advertise, the Attorney General said 7 days prior to the opening of the bid. Bids would be dated in conjunction or in keeping with the selectmen's meeting. So it'd be open that evening at a given hour, whatever that hour is. They would lay on the table until the next selectmen's meeting. At that time, they can be awarded. If you only get 2 bids, you go back out to bid. You do that twice. The third time, or the second time, let's assume you only have 2 bids at both times. At that point, it's then goes to the selectmen to make a determination. Do we wanna open the bids and take a look at what we have been offered, or do we wanna just throw the whole thing out? And that way, everybody in the community, it's a transparent kind of situation. It's not, I've opened hundreds of bids, and it's always been in public. And it's always been that any of you folks, or any member of the board, or competing bidders, can take a look at those bids once they're open. That's an open policy, and that's what I've instituted. And hopefully we can get those signed and passed soon.
I think that box is a good idea, lock them up until the day that you open them.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
a great idea.
It just simplifies it, and it reduces any misconceptions, I guess that's the best way of putting it.
Anyone else that hasn't spoken would like to speak? Okay, I'll just take a couple repeats, that's it, so.
I'd like to ask the town manager to read the letter if he could. I understand it's not that long, and that'll bring us all up to speed and exactly what it says.
If you wish me to read it, I certainly will.
Board's pleasure.
I have no problem with him reading it.
All set? It was addressed to Catherine Slattery, Esquire, York County District Attorney. Copies were sent to Senator Ron Collins, Representative Beth O'Connor, Police Chief Tim Town, myself as Town Manager, the Board of Selectmen, Julie Flynn, the Deputy Secretary of State, and Tom Levine. In early 2011, July 2011, you pressed that we investigated a complaint filed with the Borough Police Department by former town select person and resident Tom Levine. The complaint alleged a violation of Title 17 MRS 609, misuse of information, a Class E crime, which essentially provides that a public servant may not acquire a pecuniary interest in any property when such acquisition is accomplished or aided by insider information. The allegation was lodged against Joseph Chambers, a select person in Berwick, who on January 2nd, June 2nd, 2011, submitted a bid in his wife's name for a tax-acquired property at 9 Rochester Street, Berwick, assessed for tax purposes at $229,300. Chambers' bid of $20,000 was the only bid submitted, and the bid was accepted by the Board of Select Persons on June 7th, 2011, by a 3-1 vote, with Mr. Chambers abstaining. We have completed our investigation and determined there is no violation of Title 17A MRS 609, and that Mr. Chambers, as a member of the Board of Select Persons, was in possession of no more information concerning the matter than that information to which any member of the public or interested potential bidder would have been entitled. While one of the factors considered in the investigation involved Mr. Chambers' knowledge on the date of the deadline for bids, June 2nd, 2011, that no other bids had been submitted as the new time deadline approached, our investigation disclosed no evidence that this information would not have been likewise available to other potential bidders. While as a general matter, the fact that a potential bidder is aware that no other bids have been submitted may place that bidder in a more favorable position to submit a bid, it does not follow that the knowledge alone renders the eventual submission unlawful. Our investigation disclosed concerns that we believe deserves attention by town officials. However, first, state law provides that no municipal official shall, while holding municipal office, acquire from the municipality any interest in real estate acquired by that municipality on account of non-payment of taxes, excuse me, unless such sale occurs by sealed bid after duly advertising the same at least twice during a 7-day period to the acceptance of bids. It says emphasis added, see 36 MRS 946. The town advertised the bids in local newspaper, Foster's Daily Democrat, on May 7th, May 11th, and May 21st, 2011. It says 2001, but the deadline of the acceptance of the bids was June 2nd, 2011. We recommend that the town consult with its corporate counsel or other legal counsel to determine whether there was compliance with this requirement, and if not, the effect that non-compliance has on the transaction. Second, in similar future matters involving solicitation of bids, it would seem prudent for the town not to disclose the potential bidders, whether other bids have been submitted, given the favorable position such information affords a potential bidder. While there is no evidence that Mr. Chambers was treated differently than any other potential bidder who may have similarly inquired in this regard, the occurrence of favorable treatment should be avoided. We recommend that elected officials of the town of Berwick consider this concern and take whatever action is required to avoid such occurrences in the future. Third, Town Code of Ethics adopted by the Board of Select Persons on April 20th, 2010 states in relevant part, real estate transactions. In the case of real estate transactions, the potential use of confidential information and knowledge to further a town officials or town employees' personal interest requires special consideration. Purchase and sale, this is underlined, purchase and sale of real estate which might be regarded as speculation for quick profit ought to be avoided. Stop underline. Particularly in situations where the town official or town employee may have inside or advanced information as a result of his or her office or employment with the town. While again, there is no convincing evidence that the transaction at issue was accomplished or aided by inside information, to the extent that the principal premise of Code of Ethics addresses the need for town officials to avoid even the appearance of conflict of interest, it would be appropriate for the elected municipal officials in Berwick to examine the transaction at issue to determine if it is keeping with the Code of Ethics. Fourth and final, Town Clerk Judith Buckman, a notary public commissioned by the Secretary of State, acknowledging a municipal quitclaim deed for the property at 9 Rochester Street. Personal appearance and signatures of select persons James G. Ramsey, Robert Crichton, and Marcia E. Elton on June 7th, 2011. Our investigation disclosed that none of these persons could have signed the deed on the June 7th, and that the deed was not yet prepared and is not in fact available to June 21st or after. The deed appears the select persons Ramsey, Crichton, and Elton did not actually sign the document until June 28th, 2011. To the extent that it is apparent action by Ms. Buckman violates clearly established rules and regulations affecting notaries publics, we have referred the matter to the Office of Secretary of State, the state agency that licenses notaries publics, for whatever action it deems appropriate. We have closed our file on this matter and anticipate no further action. If you have any questions or wish to discuss the matter further, please feel free to contact my office. Sincerely, William J. Schreider, Attorney General. Schneider, Attorney General.
But one thing people don't realize, this board has a right, and we advertise that way, you know that, Tony, to accept or deny all bids. So this board could have stood up to their own code of ethics and denied the bid, and they did not do that.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
But a month before that, you sold a piece of land to an individual with only one bid.
It was a piece of land
I
that.
know, I'm just saying.
Were you on the board back before, when we thought we could put our
Yeah.
roadkill
I'm
and
just
all
saying.
our leaves and everything, and we found out we could do nothing,
Yeah.
and he was in a butter, and it was so wet, you can't do anything with it.
I'm just saying,
That
you
is,
don't always get
that
free
is a little
bids.
difference in a commercial piece of property. That was probably worth $5,000-6,000, this is worth $239,000.
Was it
You
a-
got 1,500 for it.
Was it a board member, Tom?
Huh?
You get 7,000 for it?
You get 1,500.
Was it a board member, Tom?
No, he was not a board member.
There you go.
I'm just making a point that they don't always get free bids.
I know,
Right.
but that was the lesser of my
That-
concerns.